All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening, and I hope you are recovered from the Danville dash. I know I'm still a bit tired, but it was a great weekend, and thank you for all of the work that all of you do to make these events such a success. Starting kind of at the top, our league stats as of today, not a lot of change in the number of licensed coaches. We've added three male coaches, so we have a total of 517 licensed coaches in the league. We added one middle school rider, so we have a total of 851 riders. This was added since the last time we talked. But the big news is that we did have our NCICL Trail Week, and that was a raging success. We met our 1,000-hour goal plus, and we added another 1,057.75 TTC hours to exceed our league goal of 3,000 TTC hours for the season, with a total of 3,258.76 TTC hours logged so far this season. And we still have a month and a half of the season left. So I really feel like we're going to make that 4,000 hour mark and really set ourselves up for a great TTC season this season, but give ourselves a big goal for next season to meet and exceed. If your team is anything like mine, the work that they did during the trail week just kind of fired them up to do more. So they want to earn their 5 hour and their 10 hour rewards, and they're already talking about what trail work they can do between now and the end of the season. Some important dates that are coming up. It's all of our events. We have 4 events left in the season. The next race event is going to be April 20th and 21st, the Mayhem at Mayodan. And then May 4th and 5th will be Five String Stampede at Fletcher. And then May 18th and 19th will be the Season Showdown, the state championship race event at Mayodan again, with June 1st and 2nd being a kind of season finale, season celebration, and adventure weekend at the Whitewater Center with the Whitewater Wind Up. There's been some questions asked about the season showdown state championships race event, and there are no qualifying criteria. We did not make a final decision in time for it to be placed in the handbook, so the handbook does not cover this. But in our league decision making process, we decided that any student athlete that wanted to participate in the state championship race event could participate in the state championship race event. But the event does not have any bearing on the season overall points competition. So if you want more information kind of on all the different awards and things like that, I have a link here to this awards info document that kind of highlights all of this information in one handy place.
Hey, Sean, Brian, can I
Yes,
clarify that real quick?
absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I added confusion to the email thread we were on today about this, but the state championship does have qualifying criteria. So it is the top 30 in each category, and then any athlete that places in the top 20 of any two races goes to the championship. The issue that was raised earlier today was essentially, does that have any bearing on the season standings? And it does not. So the season winner, series leader for the
It's like
season
Dookie.
is based on the 5 regular season race events. So all the way through Mayhem at Mayodan, that will determine the series leader for the season. But the championship is like a winner take all type of situation. You qualify to go there, and then you will be crowned the state champion if you win your category there. And we'll do the top 5 placement just like we do in any category. So yeah, sorry for adding confusion into that today, Sean, based on the email.
My apologies. So let's
Yeah.
get that down in writing. So it's the top 30 in the overall. Is that correct?
Hey, yeah, let's just so we don't, do the same thing here. If everyone references the 2024 award information linked on the website, the qualifying criteria are listed there. But again, it is the top 30 in each category after Mayhem at Mayodan. And then if any athlete places in the top 20 of any two races, they will be invited to the state championship. But that is all spelled out in black and white in the 2024 award information linked on the website.
Brian, can you provide everybody the
tabs and the links to get to that award document on the?
It's click on
Okay.
the hyperlink that's in this document
I was trying to
where it
see.
says more awards info here.
Yeah, and for any that want to kind of follow the navigation path, it's on the event results and pictures page.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Tab that says award information. Down there, click on that, and that'll bring up that same document that Sean
Thank
is
you.
in there.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we had
All
a
right.
coach about that earlier today. So that's the email thread Sean was referring to. So sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Sean, for screwing that up in the email response on that.
No, that's my that's my half reading things while I'm at work. So my apologies. Another issue that's come up is USAC license numbers. So you may remember that student athletes earn USAC points for participating in NC NICA races. And the way that gets reported is through us on the back end. We take our race results and we have to filter them with everybody that has a USAC license number in pit zone. And so what we need you to do is talk with, talk with your student athletes about their USAC licenses. If they have them, make sure their parents go in and confirm that they have the number incorrectly. There's at least one student athlete whose USAC license number isn't correct. So the results are being reported to USAC, but they might not be tagged to the license that they use. And other students, if they don't have a license number associated with them, they may not be getting their USAC license, their USAC points awarded to them that they're earning in NICA races. So just have a talk with your student athletes about USAC licenses and maybe put something out to parents that they need to check and make sure that if a student athlete does have a USAC license, to make sure that the number is correct in pit zone. Any questions or concerns about that? All right. Dogs.
Hey, Sean?
Yes.
Yeah, I put my hand up there, but I guess you can't see it.
No, sorry.
Okay. Just going back real quick to the state championship.
Yes.
Any student who wants to participate in like the Saturday events and all that kind of stuff is more than welcome to come that weekend and participate Saturday. But if they don't meet the qualifications, then they can't race on Sunday. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Brian, is there anything incorrect about that statement?
I'm still thinking through the other student athlete participation and exactly what's available and if we might require registration for that. So more to follow on that, Jeff. Thanks for the question.
Okay.
So they're going to be allowed to race on Sunday in the state champion? Or are you trying to do another activity, another ride or something?
No, he's asking about it in relation to how we're doing race events now, where you have to register in order to participate on Saturday, regardless of Sunday participation.
Gotcha.
So I think that's the clarification that's needed. Will there be anything on Saturday for student athletes that are not going to be able to race and participate in the race,
Okay.
so that they would need to register and that sort of thing?
Gotcha.
Right. Other questions about either state championships or the USAC license numbers? All right. Dogs. So it's at this point very important that you have conversations with all of the parents that are associated with your team about bringing dogs to race events. There were multiple dogs on retractable leashes. There were several races where I had to go and push people back from the start chute. They were right at the start chute with their dogs, some of them on retractable leashes, and some of them are multi-race offenders now. If I can recognize your face and your dog and know that I've said something to you before about being 50 feet away from the course, that means you're really not at all taking our policy about dogs as being important. And this is a major student athlete safety issue. The next lever that gets pulled is we start banning people and dogs from the race events. So If you look at that policy, it says that if you fail to comply with this, we just ask you to leave. And that's the point that we're starting to get with some of these participants. I had a head coach who happens to be a veterinarian come up and have a talk with me because they said they don't bring their dogs to events like this because it's too stressful for the dogs. And you're kind of seeing that with all of the dogs. We're starting to see negative interactions and all sorts of things. So make sure that you have some very clear conversations with parents about bringing dogs to our race events, and make sure that it is something that they are aware of all of the policies that they need to abide by in doing so. Whenever I would tell people they needed to be 50 feet away from the course, they would move 5 feet away and go, "Is this good?" And I would have to say no. And so it really is starting to be like where people just want to ignore this policy. James, you have your hand up.
I had to talk with a student athlete about his RC vehicle. He was directing it across the course. So maybe that's something to talk about too.
Okay. So we need to keep between the tape a sacred space that is devoted to our student athletes and is free of anything that causes any issues that would jeopardize the safety of the racers that are participating on course. All right. So let's make sure that we are using our brains. And if you see something, call it out. That's one of the biggest issues that I think I'm starting to see is I am ending up being the bad guy because I'm the only one going and saying something to people. And so, and I get multiple people saying, no one said anything about this to me. And so if I'm the only one policing this, that's not making an impact. We're all coaching all of these student athletes at these race events. And so please take into account that if you see something that is against the rules, you need to say something to them. You don't have to be ugly about it, but you need to be direct about it. And it's simply saying, please, dogs must be 50 feet from the course at all times. And say, please, dogs can't be on retractable leashes. All right. So I need your help in making sure that we have a safe environment for our race events to occur to ensure the safety of our student athletes. We all have a part to play in. And that also goes with course crossing penalties. So I know the RC car was actually involved in kind of being in the course at course crossings and things like that. And so that, again, is one of those things that these course crossings, they're not just something that we're requiring our adult participants in the event to obey by, but also student athletes. And so student athletes must abide by all of those league policies about not crossing course tape, not going under it, not crossing the course at it, none of that. And so there were some instances of student athletes going kind of in an area where you're really boxed in by tape, and they were trying to duck under the tape. They did duck under the tape. They were confronted and told to get out of the course. And then they were very like kind of confrontational about, well, where am I supposed to go? Well, the answer is back where you came from. Okay. So that's what we need to do. So we have a link to the pet policy on the NCICL website. Brian, you are webmaster extraordinaire. Is that linked on the website anywhere under events?
Thank you for calling me a webmaster first. I'm going to sleep soundly tonight that you think I actually have any technical skill in manipulating our website. So thank you very much for that. Actually, the pet policy is referenced in the handbook, in the NICA handbook, in Appendix B, the North Carolina exceptions. We took our pet policy we put in writing last year and actually incorporated it into the NICA handbook. And to the point you're making, Sean, where everyone, adult and student athletes, when they sign the code of conduct agreement, when they register as part of the league, they agree to abide by all the league policies. And this league policy is in the NICA handbook. in Appendix B. So everyone can reference it right there. It's not a standalone North Carolina policy. It's in the NICA handbook.
Number one response to whenever I stop someone to point out a rule violation to them that they're engaged in is, "Oh, I didn't know that was a rule." And my response is always, it's in the handbook that when you signed up for participation in the league, you signed saying you had read and understood and would agree to abide by all rules in the handbook. So I would strongly suggest that head coaches and coaches in general take a read through the handbook, make sure that you're familiar with all of the different rules that are there, make sure that your student athletes are aware of the rules. The big ones that we're seeing, helmets, still see coaches and adults getting on bikes without helmets. Student athletes, not so much. Earbuds are huge. That one was something that at least one penalty was given out for, and I was told that multiple students were out riding with earbuds. The only time, as we discussed in a previous coaches meeting at the Salisbury race event, that student athletes can have earbuds or headphones on is when they are on a trainer, which is also the only time they can be on a bike without a helmet on. So make sure that your student athletes understand the rules, and make sure that all of the adults that you're around, that they're not just seeing kids doing things and not saying anything to them, because that was also used as, well, I'm seeing lots of kids do that. Everyone breaking the rule doesn't mean that the rule does not exist. So be the first point of contact and be the reminder, because then the next question is always like, well, can't you just give a warning? Earbuds are an orange level penalty. The first offense is a 5-minute penalty. So there is no warning when it's caught by someone that is a league official. But if you're a parent or you're a coach, you can stop your student athlete and say, hey, you're not supposed to have earbuds in, take them out and don't put them back in until you are no longer riding your bike. And that way you are the warning system. All right. So for those of you that are looking for the PEP policy, it's on page 68 under rule 4.15. All right. And then if you want just a general kind of overview reminder for student athletes about the student athlete code of conduct, it is linked right here in a handy dandy 1-page document so that you can go over that quickly with your student athlete. All right. Enough of that. Let's get to all of you and you sharing the things that either went right or that are areas that we need to take a look at for improvement.
I'll start out. This is Ben from Chapel Hill High School.
All right, Ben.
I will say that I think a high school race of only one lap in under 20 minutes is not challenging enough, but that's been my position for a while. So I think, 3-mile race for a high school kid is just not that challenging.
All right. So that HS3 category was born out of coach requests for a single lap race for brand new high school student athletes that did not have prior mountain bike experience. So first time participants in mountain biking, as a way of kind of introducing them into the race culture. And I understand your thoughts on that and see your side of it as well. I think there are ways to maybe minimize the length of participation in it. So maybe, thinking through of like how do you use it as sort of an introduction, but then kind of quickly get you into HS2 so that HS3 is not really a competitive category. It's more of like an introduction category. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, and I see the other side of the coin as well. So yeah.
Oh, and I think the I think there should be a KOM section and KOQ section every time. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was an experiment this time. And we have a new timing team, and so we've got lots of ideas on things, but we're trying not to throw everything at them all at once. So they definitely were kind of down for doing the KOM QOM. So you like that part of the race?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And one of the negatives was and I didn't see it a whole lot, but several of my coaches mentioned that the rock garden section and the ride around section,
Mhm.
those were awesome, but too many people were crossing the course there while people were racing and getting too close to the course. So I
Okay.
don't know if we race there again, I don't know if we can like tape that section out so people can't cross the course right there and get like right on the rock garden.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit sketchy for some of the racers.
This is John Marsden, IC Imagine, Asheville, North Carolina. How you guys doing?
Good. Long-time listener, first-time caller, John Marsden. How are you?
Yeah, yes, that's me. So, you guys do an amazing job. I've been doing this the entire time that you guys have been in North Carolina, and it's awesome, and I love it. Every Sunday when I get home though from a race, I do not want to go. I'm a school teacher. I do not want to go to work on Monday. So,
I am
I was
right
just
there
wondering,
with you, John.
right? So I was wondering at the last race, is there a reason why we don't do Friday pre-ride? Just open up the course, minimal volunteers. Friday pre-ride, do a Saturday morning, like an hour or two of pre-riding, and then just run all day Saturday so that these kids can get home, get a good night's sleep on Sunday.
Huh, okay. So you're talking about for the final race?
For all of our races.
For all of our races.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's been my only thing this entire, like, 8 years that we've been doing this is, like, I hate Mondays, like, and, like, that's the only hard part for me on the races. I love the camping. I love all of it. I mean, it's amazing. But, like, this
Yeah.
is there a reason why we don't do a Friday to Saturday?
Yes, because then that means race crew having to get there Thursday to start laying out the course and getting things set up, and then a Friday pre-ride. So essentially, you have to shift everything forward by one day, and so that's something that it's just not feasible um, with the league staff and asking volunteers because we rely on volunteers for setup on Thursday and Friday. Well, Friday and Saturday, so then it would be the same Friday, and there's not that many people who would be able to actually do that. So,
Not to mention your
If I
student
could
athletes
jump
would
in.
not be able to get out of work or out of school, excuse me, on Friday in time to participate.
Well, that's why they would come late afternoon. But I totally get that with the volunteers, and that's what I figured the problem was.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Sean, if
yeah.
I could add in.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm sensitive to the issue. We do have a lot of teams that travel quite a distance to get to our venues, and Sean and Ben were exactly right in terms of, if you move it left, there are some real limitations in terms of the volunteer staff and the volunteers that pull off these great events. I think the future of the league is getting more local venues for our teams. Evidence in point, we're doing a race in Fletcher, closer to the Western teams, much like we've done with Browns Creek for the Eastern teams. We will continue to move that way to get venues closer to the teams. And there's probably a future of this league of like an Eastern and Western conference to where you're only traveling a couple hours to get to your venues. So that's the direction I'm moving. It's probably not as quick as people would like, but that's where I think we need to go because I am sensitive to the issue of a lot of travel time. Case in point, I stayed at Danville Sunday night. There was no way I could like finish that weekend and pack up the trailer and drive 4 hours home based on my brain status. I was just unsafe. So I stayed the night. So I'm with you, man. Trying to reduce that travel time. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Sean, this is Diane LeBlanc. So on behalf of Jenny Wood and myself, your volunteer coordinators, I just want to thank everyone who's on this call for volunteering. We went into the weekend very unsure that we were going to have all the volunteers that we needed. All of y'all know that we have positions that are mission critical, and crossing guards fell into that this weekend as well, this past weekend, because of the race venue. So please thank your parents, your other coaches that just stepped up. We had people coming up 2 or 3 times on Sunday to see if there was anything else they could help us with, and we just absolutely appreciate that. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and just keep volunteering because we need you. We can't do this without y'all.
All right. Other feedback for us on things that went well or things that we need to look out for improvement? Yes. So one of the feedback we just got in chat was love the venue. I think this was just about the coolest NICA course we've had. So I'm right there with you. I thought this was a ton of fun, and it would have been a fun course to race. It was a fun course to ride, but it would have been a fun course to race for sure.
Hey, Sean.
Yes.
Luke Harris from Lake Norman Composite. Talked with some parents, talked with student athletes. The introduction of the adventure course this season has really spiced it up, if you will, and kind of added another wrinkle. And we're seeing a lot of kids really satisfied with that introduction. So just wanted to give you guys kudos on that. And I would also like to echo that was probably the closest that we've seen, according to some of our UCI athletes that have like national UCI points. They said that that's probably the closest NICA course that they've ever seen to a UCI type course. So kudos to you guys. The only thing they said that was missing was probably another 3/4 to a half a mile worth of climbing or extension on the course. But overall, excellent work.
Awesome. Yeah, that disconnect between the national level cross country courses and a NICA kind of appropriate NICA courses, there's a gulf there, and it's something that we can only approach so closely, but definitely this I think was really, really good. Ben Harbor, you have your hand up.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is positive was the great help from all the teams to take care of trash mitigation and making that venue look absolutely gorgeous when we left. Well, I understand the trash dumpster was a 4-mile hike, but I certainly appreciate everybody chipping in to help out to make Pitt the cleanest pit that I've seen at the end of a weekend.
Concur. Ben, you, Todd, and I walked that field at the end, and it was looking pretty good. So thank you, everybody.
I would also like to poll to see how many teams. You can email Ben at northcarolinamtb.org later. How many teams would be interested in try to go back and camp as a team postseason, not a NICA event, but just a gathering of your NICA friends and family at Anglers Park? and ride the other plethora of trails around that area. Again, email ben@northcarolinaMTB.org.
All right, additional feedback. Can we discuss the RC cars? Sure. What would you like to discuss? I kind of saw it firsthand. What would be your suggestion?
This is Laurel. I don't know if I have a suggestion. I just almost ran over one in the parking lot and also heard that there was one on the course. And it just seems like an unnecessary risk to me to have those zooming around all over the place.
Agreed. So that's something that I think maybe share with your teams and say, let's keep the use of that appropriate, and if it continues to be an issue, then we'll have to kind of mitigate that issue with some type of policy. All right. One thing I do want to bring up is just kind of some coaching of rides and concerns that we saw this weekend. And it was specific to more adults than anything else, but it's very important that when you take a group out, your group stays together. If one person has the problem, the group has the problem. There was an incident with someone saying, "You guys go ahead. I'm just not feeling great. You go ahead. I'll catch up, or finish up." And the person was actually having an issue that they didn't need to be by themselves. And so, I understand we're all adults and we make choices, but when we go out as a group, just having the attitude of like the group stays together no matter what, we're as strong as the weakest person in our group. So if someone in our group is having an issue, then what's the way that we're going to deal with the issue? Is it this person really shouldn't be riding? I know there was one kid that was riding with their team. They went on the adventure course. They went up the first hill, said, "I don't feel like doing this," and turned around and rode out by themselves. So that's not really the way to handle those things. Like when you're with a group, stay with your group leader. And then if you need to turn around and leave, take everybody back out, drop off the person who's having a problem, make sure they're okay, and then go back out and head out on your ride. But it's really important that you maintain that group cohesion so that you're accountable to each other and you're watching out for each other. And so simple things like that can go a long way to mitigating risk, and also, just everybody having an actual good time together. And that's what we're looking for. All right. Yes, Angie.
Hey, Sean. I just want to echo kind of your comments there about the groups and ask the coaches to remind everyone that applies to all groups. If you go on an adventure ride, if you go on the grit pre-ride, if you go out with your team ride, whatever it is, that whatever group you're with, that ride leader's job is not to go as fast as possible to take you out on a pre-ride race. Our job as the ride leader is to control the pace so that everybody in that group is having fun. And the girls, I know that's, its own thing, and we have a lot of time to manage that and time with the girls, but I just want to ask the coaches, please remind all of your student athletes that applies for all groups.
That's the number one thing that I see during pre-ride is I take my team out. I'm constantly doing shoulder checks to make sure that I've got my sweep rider. So I just keep my sweep rider in sight and know that I've got my group together. And so those frequent shoulder checks are allow me to make sure that I'm going a pace that's good for all of my student athletes. Whenever I take my student athletes out on red flag or yellow flag, I'm not trying to do it at race pace. I'm doing it at slow, let's check out the course pace. Green flag is when they get to go out and do things at their pace. And so I've got one student athlete that I swear one of these days he's going to end up like impaling me on my bike. He rides me so close. And I just have to constantly tell him, get back, get back. I don't go any faster. I'm not changing my speed because of that. So or separated into smaller groups. Well, that's what we keep saying. But you know, my team, we're a small team. Whenever I take a group out, it's 6 student athletes. It's me and another coach and 6 student athletes. That's how many I've got to go out in yellow flag conditions. So, you know, even if it's a small group, you still have to maintain a pace for the whole group. You're not going out and killing it. Okay. And I think too many of the adult coaches are treating it like I need to go out and go as fast as possible because these student athletes are fast. The best thing I've ever heard a coach say was the hay is in the barn, meaning the day before the race, there's no more training. Your training is done. There is nothing you can do on Saturday to make your race on Sunday go better. There's a lot of things you can do on Saturday to make your race on Sunday go worse. But Saturday, the work has been done. The training's in. So you don't need to go out and kill it. You also don't need to be going the pace of the fastest rider in the group. You go the pace of the slowest rider in the group, and you go one that they're all comfortable with. And the thing that I like about it is when I go out with my yellow flag group, they're all varying speeds. They're all fast kids, but I set the tempo and I hear them talking the entire time. If I can hear my student athletes talking, I know I'm going a good, solid zone 2 pace. That's what I want to keep for them. And then they, at the end of it, go, yeah, we're going to go out and on green flag, like we'll get together and we'll start just working on lines and they start collaborating. That's what you want them to do. That green flag is that space for them to kind of do their thing. But those yellow flag conditions, coach is in charge. Coach is doing everything and they're following that lead. All right. So anything else that anyone would like to add? All right. Thank you so much for a fantastic Danville weekend. Really looking forward to seeing all of you in Mayodan. And if there's anything that we can do for you, you know that anyone in the league is just an email away. And we will be more than happy to answer any questions or help with any issues that you may have. You all have a good evening.